After that experience, rounds are finished. Round 5's over. You're going to the center of the ring. Okay, you didn't win. How did you feel after that?
How did I feel?
How were the emotions? I mean, you just said that you felt like you let your trainers down and everyone that put into you.
Good question. I don't cry much, but I will cry when I lose. But not like a ball cry. Maybe you'll get like the silent crocodile tear, but it's more like my eyes get red and like they're super watery, and it's just like a real big hit of disappointment. Regardless, like even now to this day, regardless if it's a good show or not, I just get hit with that wave of, like, it's never anger, it's just like, right? So like, just felt like I wanted to cry, but like all the coaches are just like, okay, all right. Another thing, a big thing about fighting different in Thailand and here is the pressure on a fighter is a lot different. So once you say you're a fighter, that's considered your job. So your job is to either go out there, win or lose. So I lost the fight already, on to the next one. That's it. Like, like there's no reason for you to be mad. You went out there, you didn't, you showed heart, you didn't lose. So it's not that big of a deal as long as you tried as best you can. It wasn't big money on it, so the gym isn't mad. No one's really betting on me. I'm not important. So that was my initial wave. It's just like pure disappointment. First fight, to them, it doesn't mean anything. Like everyone there is like 300 fights, 40 fights. Yeah. So everyone's like, oh, okay, good job, cool. They're not even talking about it. They're already watching like fights at the stadium on their phone, or they're like talking about the cockfights that they're going to the next night. So like that helped me realize like, all right, this is important, but it's not that important. Like this is not world ending. If it was my first and last fight, then okay. But if you want to do this, get used to it. This is part of it. Like it's not all winning.
I love that because I don't think people hear that enough. It's like a way of life. It's just, hey, let's try to get the win, but if we don't get it, it's okay. On to the next. Let's keep working. Let's keep back to work.
Also have this theory, especially like, so when I take that, whether you're a foreigner who goes and fights in Thailand, or whether you're a foreigner or you're a fighter here in America, something like a theory, or not a feeling I feel is people don't realize how unimportant your fights are, right? They're important to you, but people are like, oh my gosh, I'm a warrior. You're not a warrior. Muay Thai in America is a luxury, right? You're not fighting, even if we're a foreigner going there, you're not fighting to feed your family. No. You're not fighting, like there are people who are fighting because that's their way of survival.
Yes.
Your fighting is
because you love it.
Because you love it, right? And so it's not as important as you think it is, right? It's important to you because that's your thing. But in the grand scheme of what you're doing and what you're trying to bring out, everyone isn't going to look at you and say, well, you know what? They're going out there and they're doing all this and they're putting all this love into it. You put the love into it because you want to love it. Yeah. Not because you want people to be like, you know what? That guy's a warrior. Well, he's putting everything on the line. You're really putting your body on the line, but that's your choice.
That's right.
That's your choice. And once you make that choice, it's up to you. Yeah. But a lot of people have this feeling of self-importance of their fights, right? So I would never be like, oh my gosh, I've had all these fights and I've done this and I've done that. No one made me. I didn't have to do it because I needed to. Yeah. Like there are people who fight because they need to send money back home. People send their kids the age of 9 and don't see them again to a gym. Yeah. And that kid he's eating like a bowl of rice. He's sending all his money back. Like a coach I know, Mr. Knock, he was, no, sorry, is it Mr. Knock? Pornsene. He got abducted by a gang and the gang made him fight. Oh, and he wasn't, he missed his family and the gang made him fight, made these kids fight. Wow. So like, what we're fighting for is for us. It's like selfish reasons, right? Make us feel better, make us feel like we're doing something. Yeah. So yeah, what's that? Yeah.
Wow. I love it. That was a pretty life-changing scare too, would you say?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, my mom and I were going home to feed horses, It was early in the morning.
Oh, how old were you at this time?
It was a week before I turned 17. Wow. And I knocked out a grown man the prior week in Vancouver. So I was just on that big high. Yeah. And I had a lot of responsibility. We had to go home, where I grew up, we'd had to go home by sled and snowmobile. And the average year was 5 to 7 feet of snow. So we'd have to go home, snowmobile up and all that stuff. So it was a 3-hour drive, like I said. And we were going up there, we hit black ice. Then I was sleeping, I woke up, and my mom was like, shit. And then we saw this Jeep Cherokee coming at us. And my mom did a maneuver, car went like this, and it flipped, and I wasn't wearing my seatbelt.
Dang.
And I just remember like making contact with the window, with my passenger window, and I flung out of the window, and I went flying way over this bank, and my mom was still in the car, and the car was just spinning. And I woke up on the other side of this tree, and this tree kind of stopped the car from crushing me, right? So I woke up, and I was having flashbacks of having to feed horses, having flashbacks of like me knocking a guy out, and then I'm kind of like, oh man, I think we're in a car accident, Mom, and I'm seeing blood everywhere, you know? And then I was like, I think we're in a car accident, and she's just kind of moaning there, and I was like, I'm gonna get you out. So I got up, and my femur, I broke my femur was over here. And my bones hit each other, and I was like, you know?
Man.
And she's like, what's wrong? And I thought I broke my hips. I was like, I think I broke my hips. So then she was like, don't move. And I like the gasoline was everywhere, you know? Wow. So car was starting to spark a bit. And I was like, I tried to get up again. And I couldn't. I was like, dude, I can't get up. So we both were like, hey, I love you, and all that good stuff.
Yeah,
and these two farmers came over, got me up, picked me up a bad leg first. So my leg went up there, and I was like, Took me over and sat me down and got my mom out, and it was literally like within 20 seconds I got her out. The car was engulfed in flames, you know?
Wow.
So I remember like we were in like, they took us to a clinic, and then they took us to get, the operations done. So I have like a rod in my leg, right? They put a steel rod in my leg. And I remember beforehand, I was just like, I was all doped up on like morphine, and we were in the surgery room, and I was like, I need more of that medicine. I need more opium. And Mom was just like, he's seen too many westerns. I'm sorry, you know. And my mom, her wrist was shattered, her arm was shattered. They put 7 plates. It was bad, you know. So I was in there. I remember that night, like I called my coach, and I was just like a mess. I was like all over the place, and I was like, dude, I had a car accident that night. My coach, all my teammates, they came. They're all by my bed.
Oh man, that's awesome.
They came by me. Like we had a good community, and they were supportive. And then I was on crutches. Like I wasn't able to really walk until like months later, but I was on crutches, and I was when the trail annual fights came around, I was on crutches. I went out there. I got a bunch of sponsors. I got like $3,000 worth of sponsors from my coach. And then I was holding pads for people. I'd go into a corner and put myself up because I was a really good pad holder. And they'd have to stay in one spot, and I'd hold pads to them.
Okay.
But it gave me like a purpose because that was like a dark time for me, you know?
Okay.
And I was like, that was supposed to be my year of like getting titles, you know?
Yeah.
And then that year was really rough because my parents were like, we can't live on the mountain anymore, you know? And that kind of put me into a dark place because that was the first time I happened to live in a town.
Yeah.
And I was like this wild kid from the mountains that never been around people, and I was going crazy. I was like, I can't do this. So I got the blessing of my dad. I was like, I'm gonna go work for a hunting and guiding outfit up by Alaska on the Canadian side, Northwest Territories. And I finished that job, and then I got in touch with I was a certified farrier when I was 15, and then I got word I got a cowboy job, and I was like, Dad, can I have permission? I want to move out, you know? My dad's like, yeah, you're good, don't, you know? So then I put fighting on hold for quite a while, you know?
Okay.
I was still like training here and there, but I was just cowboying for years, you know?
How long would you say that duration was? Like you took a break from fighting. How long did it take for you to get that itch again where you're like, I got a fight set up?
I always had the itch.
Okay.
I mean, always had the itch, but I was always scared like, oh man, is my leg the same, you know?
Okay.
And it was 6 years. It was 6 years, yeah.
Okay.
And I came back and I kicked, and I was like, oh, my kick's never going to be the same because everybody, when I was a kid, I was knocking all these guys out with head kicks. They all my like people would call me Little Crow Cop, you know?
Oh shoot!
And I went in the gym and I smacked that bag, and I was just like, I started sparring, and I was just like, I switched stances, like you can kick my leg, and they kicked, and I was like, dude, I feel nothing, like it's stronger than ever, you know what I mean?
That's cool.
And then I was like, I'm gonna have one more fight, and then one more fight turned into a bunch, and it's like, there was never an issue with my leg, I was always concerned, but like when I was a hospital, man, like I had, and I'm almost kicking because I had 3 blood clots in my lungs. They had to fly me down to another hospital, had to get on like a bunch of stuff. Like they said they almost had to open up my leg to stop like the bleeding and stuff, but I had blood clots in my lungs. And I can't remember what it was exactly about opening the leg. It was 2 things. They were going to put me on this medicine to get the blood clots stopped, but I was like coughing up these clots of blood like for quite a while, But talking about community, I had to if you get a good community in a gym, it's pretty special,
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Shout out to Pride Gym. Are they still around, buddy?
Still around, yeah. They got one guy right now, Keenan. I can't remember can't pronounce his Keenan Chucker, but he's on a tear. He is pretty darn close, I think, to getting into the UFC right now.
That's awesome.
And from coming from a tiny little town like that, like Glenn produced a lot of really good fighters that never got like the recognition that they should have gotten. Like they never we had one guy, Brent Russell, and he was a 6-time Canadian champ, but he had such a right hand. He fought 165, but if he would have fought in the shows down here, man, it would have been pretty fun to watch, But he was a great coach. He's had another guy was made it to the UFC, fought in there like 5 or 6 times.
Nice.
It's pretty cool, But
that's cool.
Yeah, special gym.
Nice. Shout out to the good gyms out there,
Absolutely.
right?
Yeah, absolutely. I've heard stories about the bad ones too, so there's always, you appreciate hearing the good ones, you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You've been an amateur fighter. You're a pro fighter. You've done a lot of accolades. Can you kind of give a little history on, like, you know, how many fights have you had? Any titles that you've won? Because I know you had a big one. You did the oh man, I keep forgetting, the
IFMA.
Yeah, the IFMA. There we go.
Yeah. So the total fights I probably have had about 50.
Okay.
About 50. I had a lot of amateur fights. You know, the thing about the IFMA tournament, so for those people that don't know, the IFMA organization is the closest thing that we have to the Olympics. You have 100+ countries that participate. You have the best athletes in that country that go out and represent the country. And I was a part of the IFMA team in 2017.
Wow.
I had been training 2017. I had been training for about 14, 15 years at that time. And it was such a great experience. So before being asked to be on the tournament, I had fought professionally, and I had also fought, like I said, maybe 30 amateur fights. I had a lot of amateur fights. This was smokers and sanctions. And we can talk about like what the differences were back then. But during that time, I was always, I was competing, but I wasn't giving it my all the way I now know that I should have been. So taking breaks in between fights, drinking, going out partying, doing things, you know? And so it's not until I got really focused that I noticed how my career changed.
When was that? Like, when you think back to that time frame where you're like, I'm partying after every fight, what year hit you where you're just like, you know what, I gotta step up my game? Like, when did that happen?
Okay, so when I was doing smokers, I was still, so smokers, for those of people that don't know, it was like the entry level into competitions. And then smokers were held at gyms. They're in-house, but you had, man, you remember those days, Neil?
I do.
You had the best gyms. A lot of top fighters would show up to support, to corner their fighters.
Yeah.
You had other gym owners or other coaches were the refs and the judges.
Yes.
And you just had wars.
Yeah.
But it was done in such a professional way because everyone that organized it, they were involved in the sport. They were running the sport. They knew about it. They were They were the sports, the main figures in SoCal or in California. So I was doing smokers. I had several smokers, but even after the smokers, I was doing well. I lost my very first fight, and then I went on to win, I think, 10 fights in a row.
Nice.
And so I was thinking, like, I got this, you know, like, I think I'm going to be okay doing this sport. So I started slacking off. I was smoking before training. After the fights, I would drink. I was drinking a lot.
Okay.
And I would smoke like the day before, sometimes the day of the fight, you know, and thinking, I'm going to be okay. Once I get to the next level, I'm going to cut this off.
Oh, no.
And I would, but it was still affecting me. I mean, if you're gonna take it serious, if you want to be a serious fighter, you have to change your lifestyle. You can't just train Muay Thai. You can't just compete and then have the same lifestyle, whether that's drinking, doing other substances, having a bad diet. You know, like, you can't go eat a Big Mac and then expect to be in the best shape of your life.
That's right.
You know, so that was always an issue. Okay. And it continued to be an issue throughout my career. I had moments where I was living a healthy life. Maybe 2-3 months before a competition, you know, I would make sure I was really strict. And that's part of the reason why I wanted to stay so active, because I knew when I was competing that I was the best version of myself. You know, I was, in terms of just being physically healthy, but also my mental health was way better when I had fights coming up. And spiritually also, like, I knew that if I was being, like, I would try to do everything by the book.
Nice.
Just be the best person that I can be. I always felt closer to God during those times. It's also, you're getting into a fight, so in my case, I wanted to feel like I had some sort of protection, something bigger than myself. So whenever I had fights coming up, I was the best version of myself, and I felt like that's what I needed to do in order to be victorious. And when I didn't fight, I would go back to living an unhealthy life. Yeah.
Do you feel like when you look back, do you feel like that happened because maybe you didn't have the right people like keeping you on track, like there's calling you out on your stuff, like, Dave, what you doing, man? You're slacking. Come on, let's get back to the gym. Did you have people in your life doing that for you?
I have a lot of the same people in my life now, and I don't think I was even if they were to tell me something, I wasn't ready to listen. I wasn't ready to change.
Got it.
Because I was doing just enough to get by, and I was successful. I was winning my fights. I was accomplishing my goals. But I know I could have done a lot more. So even then, I would listen to them, and I knew what they were saying was right.
Yeah.
I wasn't ready to change at that time.
What were some of the things that stood out to you when you signed up and you're coming to 2 days a week, but now you're coming every day? Like, what are some of the things that stood out to you?
Okay, so this is where Muay Thai kind of changed it for me, like the whole working out. I came in with goals of losing body fat, working up my stamina, getting better shape. But during the workouts, something happened. Something happened up here. I was like, whoa, what's going on? Like I told you earlier, I work 10, 12 hours a day, sometimes 6 days a week. It depends, right? And I mean, all the viewers, they all go through the same thing. They have drastic lives with their careers, at home, things are going on. So there's a lot of noise in your head all day long.
Yeah.
Stress, and everybody goes through it. It's normal, it's life. But the thing that I realized working out here versus the global gym is once you come in here, that noise, it starts to quiet down, right? Once I'm wrapping up, it's like, it's quiet. There's nothing in here.
I love that.
And once the class starts, guess what? It's just focused.
I love that.
And nothing else exists but that combination. And for an hour and a half, it's like peace of mind. So I think a lot of people, from what I hear, people talking, other members, they go through the same thing. And on top of that, during the workout, you feel amazing. You're like, I feel great. It's all the endorphins, right?
Yeah.
It's like, wow, this is amazing. And that's why they come twice a day. That's why they come every day, because that feeling you can't get out of global gym. There's no way.
Yeah.
You could get close to it, but not like this.
Yeah. I have a saying that Muay Thai gives you endorphins on top of endorphins. Like, it's just because you feel
It's
different.
amazing. It's amazing. So for me, we were talking about earlier, it's like, you go through a stressful day. I mean, you do 12 hours, then you got to fight traffic. And it's like, you think about all these problems from work, all problems at home. You shut it off. Shut it off when you're in here. And when you go home, man, you feel amazing because you got all this, great, awesome. So you go home, you have the rest of the day, and you're in a better mood. It's a mood changer, man. It's like, it's great. So, I went from I need to lose some weight to like, dude, I need this because it's good for my mind. It's a good thing. It's amazing.
What would you say to anyone that might be listening right now, that maybe was in that same boat? Like, man, I've been working out, but man, I've put on kind of too much weight, like bad weight. I need to get rid of some of this, and I don't know. I'm looking for something. Like, what could you say to them that maybe saw a Muay Thai gym near them and they're kind of, I don't know. What could you say to them to like help them just, hey?
Yeah, definitely. I would just say, just go for it. Don't be afraid. I mean, I was hesitant and I did it, but it's a lot of fun. I mean, if you go to the gym, like global gyms, yeah, that's what they are. They can push a lot of weight and stuff, but can you get the satisfaction from a Muay Thai gym? Not just us, but any other gym out there. Man, it's something special, you know. I'm sure boxing gyms are the same, but Muay Thai is. Whew. I would just say, just walk in, just do it, try it. I'm sure they'll fall in love with it.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
So, yeah.
What sparked that idea where you're like, you know what? Let's go somewhere else. Let's make our own gym.
Because when we started the tournament, okay, what you call smoker, you know, and then we really packed that day, right?
Really packed.
Okay, and then the owner regime come and tell me, you're not supposed to do that. You can't do that. You're supposed to give some money to them too. That's not agreement because they didn't give us the part of the profit what they make. So we think, oh, maybe we do this. We can make some money right there, right? So we did. But when they did that, so no, I'm not happy at all. You know, so I think it's better, you know, to go and start your own.
Yeah.
You see, even we don't have the money, but it's better because you can say that if you're not happy there working, you can.
Yeah.
You know,
right. You're right.
it doesn't matter. So that's how we did. So we left.
Okay. And then,
even we don't have any money. Okay.
Yeah. And guys, when my mom says we didn't have any money, we didn't have any money. If you would have saw the car that we drove in at that time was
about $400.
Yeah. The person sold it to my mom for $400 cash. Like it was a Honda, like a really old Honda. It was like dented up all over the place. It was like a dull silver because it had no paint on it, right? It would shut down on us while we're driving,
I know,
right?
on the freeway.
Yeah, so it was a beat up car. So when my mom says we had no money, we had no money. We were on welfare at that time. We were getting food stamps. When my mom says we had no money, we had no money, guys. Like I'm talking. So, mom, and then when you guys make the decision of like, you know what, let's start our own. Kurex is like, yeah, all right, let's do it.
Because
right?
I have only a few thousand, you know. About 3,000 or 4,000, something like that. So I think
that was
at
saved
least
up.
That
was saved up. Okay.
You see, with whatever you can say about that. So we think, we can do it. So we left. Okay. Why we looking for the place? We left and go and stay with. Remember the guy who owned the restaurant?
Yeah.
That's why we teach a few students there.
Okay, so let's make sure everyone understands this. When you guys left, you had students that also came with you guys.
Not much, but a few, And then that time we just teach them free too. They don't,
Yeah. So let's be a little bit more descriptive here. So we had a student that had a Thai restaurant, and he said, you guys can come teach classes here while you're looking for a spot.
Yeah, because they have some space there, right there. While we're looking for the spot, that's what we do. So
keep in mind, guys, because I remember this room. It was a Thai restaurant in the valley, and he had multiple rooms.
In Van Nuys, actually.
It was in Van Nuys, and he had a small room, and we would just cram in there. We could typically have 4 people training at the most. I remember. I never saw more than 4 people training in the room. That's including the trainer, Kurex, by the way. 4 people. And so we're training in this room, right? And these are members that just believe that they're just like, we're coming with. We like what you guys are doing. And so tell everyone the agreement. Like, so we didn't really have money. We had $4,000 to our name, right? They're letting you train while we're looking for places. Were they paying you? Were those students were they paying you anything? No. We were just training them for free. Okay. Was there any agreement made, or is this
nothing?
We just train them free?
Because it's just they don't want to stay there anymore. That's why. Say okay, we can find a place, and then you can train over there.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay, and then you somehow find a place on Arminta Street in Van Nuys. Did you use an agent to find that place?
No.
No, you just drove around? So my mom drove around, found our potential spot, and then you called the number, right? And then got that going. Do you remember what the security deposit was and what was the first month's
12.
rent?
The first month's rent is 12,000. 1,200.
1,200?
Yeah.
And then with the security deposit, how much was that?
Another, 1,200. Yeah.
So 2,400. So guys, keep in mind, let's do the math there, right? My mom's got $4,000 in savings, $4,000. To open up the new gym, she has to pay a security deposit and first month's rent, which is $2,400. Not to mention, we don't have Thai pads. We don't have heavy bags. We don't have a ring. We don't have floor mats. We don't have dumbbells. We don't have mirrors.
Nothing.
We have nothing, okay? And that little bit of money, keep in mind, she's got 2 children, myself and my sister Candy, and then Crew Rex. We still have to eat and live. Not to mention, we still have to pay rent to where we were living at that time, right? So you guys can see the math here. My mom had no money trying to start a new business, but she made it happen. Mom, so you drop the payment, you pay the security deposit, you pay the first month's rent.
And then
now what happens?
What happened? We just go into the place, right? Knock down all the,
So
wall,
how did
the room to make into the big room like that.
Who helped you knock down these walls?
The student.
The students that came with us. Okay. So the students come help us knock stuff down.
Yeah, that's
do they do this as a profession?
No,
No.
They work as a carpet. It's
Carpenter?
like a floor. Yeah, floor.
Okay.
Layer, whatever.
Yeah.
So, but knock down the wall. I mean.
Okay. So they helped us.
Help us and
Okay.
knock down the wall. And then in the place they have some metal, something like that. A lot of them. So we start build that up ourselves to make the ring.
How do you handle that time apart from one another, right? Because I'm always working. When you're not on set, you're you work from home. You get to work remotely. But how does that put a strain on you at all? Do you ever feel?
To be completely honest, I think the beginning of our relationship, it was kind of like, it was probably like learning how our schedules function together, because obviously if you're first walking into somebody's life, you're not only having to learn about them, you're also like you want a lot of time with them, you want to get to know them, you want to like consume them as much as possible. And I think so. I think at the beginning it was like the question of like, well, does he like me, and like how do I know that, because we're not like together that often. I think the thing that you do in spades is when you're with me, you're with me. So even though I guess like, on a clock, it might say like, oh, we only have this amount of time together. There are some couples that have more hours together, but don't have as much like actual valuable time spent together.
That connection.
Yeah. I think that what we do is like the time that we do have, it's so concentrated on like, not only like showing love for each other, but growing with each other and building each other up. And like, I think even now, like we'll still check in, even if we're not together, check in throughout the day so we know where each person is at throughout the day. And I think that's important too, to recognize like you're an important part of my life. I want you to know what's going on in my day. I want you to know where I'm at, what I'm thinking, even as it's as small as like today when there's 2 spiders on my wall and I'm like, oh my God, I need you to know this. But I really do think it's the fact of like taking the time, regardless of the amount of time you have with your partner, making it very concentrated and making sure that you make them a priority. Because so many people, yes, like you would easily be acceptable to come home and be like, I'm tired. I don't want to talk. I don't want to like interact with you. I kind of want to zone out.
Yeah.
And anybody would understand that. I honestly don't know how you do it, but like every day you come home, you have the energy for me, you have the positivity for me, you want to talk to me, you like want to like engage, and like I think that's what helps us stay connected and grow.
Absolutely. And one thing to piggyback off that too, baby, is the reason why I'm able to do it is because you are my one. You know what I mean? This is why I always tell people, like, it's so important to build your self-value, right? I've worked on myself for the last 5 to 6 years, like crazy. And I've built up I've always had a high standard, but my standard has just increased so much. And I know you've been working on yourself as well. And we just met at the right time. And
Yeah.
because I had a certain standard and values that I looked for in a woman, and I was not going to accept anything less.
Yeah.
And you had the same.
Yeah.
So guys, fun fact, she had a checklist. 13 things, I believe, was the correct number.
I think it was about that, yeah.
She had about 13 things written down. And on our first date, she said, I checked off on every single one.
Yeah.
And she knew. And it was funny because after my date with her, I came home talking to myself in the mirror. Excuse my language. I was like, I'm gonna fucking marry this girl. Like, I said that to myself in the mirror, not once, but twice. I repeated it with the curse word. So I knew I had never said this before in my life. And I just knew because I had a standard and I knew what I was looking for in a woman. And I also happened to be that same guy for you. Yeah. And one thing I would encourage people that are dating and looking for a partner, the best thing you could ever do is know exactly who you are, what you like, what you don't like, what you're willing to tolerate, and what you're not willing to tolerate. And once you have that list locked in, don't ever play with that. That's your list, and that's your list, and don't let anyone ever tell you different.
Even expand on that list a little bit. I think a lot of people will say like, oh, this is what I want in a partner. What this chart was a list of like the top qualities, where it ranked, like what were deal breakers, what were like where it ranked in like importance to me, what were signs that somebody possessed this quality, and what were signs that somebody didn't possess this quality. So there was like so much detail that went into actually creating and filling out this list that I think that it really helped kind of like when I met you, when I spoke with you, when I interacted with you, your energy, who you were, like how you represented yourself, like I'm like, it was so clear to see that you were this picture perfect person.
Thanks, baby. Thanks.